Hello, hello. We are waiting a few more seconds and we're going to start an interview with Ad1 challenger Jonathan Huggins. Hello, everyone. We should be live everywhere. We're doing a big experiment with YouTube and Facebook Live. These are the days where we can broadcast to the world. My name is Paulino Brenner. I am a Spanish teacher, and I love to play around with technology, and that's what we're doing today. But we're also going to be learning more about the Ad1 Challenge. I recently participated in the Ad1 Challenge, learning sign language, and I won. Yay! Now, what does that mean? Instead of doing all the talking myself, I invited one of my fellow Ad1 challengers, Jonathan Huggins. He has done more Ad1 challenges than myself, and I would like to hear from his experience. I'll try not to talk too much, although I like to talk. Hello, Jonathan.
Hi, Paulino. How are you?
I'm doing great. Tell me a little bit about your background as a language learner, and you're also a fellow language teacher.
Yeah, so I would say this has now been about 20, 21 years of learning languages. I got started with Spanish in high school when I was living in California. Then 2 years after that, I started French. Then a year after that, like German, and then I just let the floodgates open with Italian, Russian when I was at the university, and also I think a Japanese exchange student taught me a few things. But more recently, I guess I've been settling in on learning, like saying I've done Spanish and French, mainly trilingual, having lived in France for about 6 years, and then now living in Mexico now for 8 years. And this last year, 5 years or so, I've wanted to focus on Russian, and I've took part in the Ad1 challenge, as you mentioned, for Russian, for the Ad1 challenge number 15. So I was a finalist like you, along with two other language learners, Brianna Allen and Mo Sixstring. So congratulate them as well, along with you for the for reaching the final. So.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very excited. Now, for those followers out there who do not know about the Ad1 challenge, I wonder if you can give me a quick summary of what the Ad1 challenge is about. But also for those watching live, we are live here. If you're watching live, if you have any questions for Jonathan about the Ad1 challenge or about his story and what he has to offer, feel free to leave a comment. We'll do our best to find your comment. As I said, we are doing a little experiment, streaming in many places. We want to reach as many people as possible, but leave a comment. If we cannot answer it during this live broadcast, we'll definitely respond after, when you can. And for those watching the recording, also make sure to leave a comment on this video, and Jonathan or I will answer later. So Jonathan, what is the Ad1 challenge?
Okay, well, first of all, there is Brian Kwong, who is the founder, and I did an interview with him several months ago, back in March, and asked him some questions, and he was telling me that he got involved with Benny Lewis with the Fluent 3 Months page, and I think there's a section on there where you can upload videos and show your progress. And I think he explained that he was doing this over a period of like about 3 months and posting his updates. And at the end of those 3 months, he was thanking another fellow learner and saying, thanks for posting your updates, because that kept me motivated. And then the person said, wait a second, your updates were keeping me motivated. So he figured that there was this an opportunity here to create a community where fellow learners could kind of share each other's kind of struggles, their kind of ups and downs, the yays and nays, and come together as for 3 months. And I think that's basically what the Ad1 challenge is. It's a really vibrant community. You have about 50 or so people in each group that starts. There isn't a specific time when these will start. I think, as Brian has explained, there's about like whenever they can get about 50 or so people, they will set up a new group, and then those people will start for 3 months. And basically, you're creating a video for like day 0, then day 30, day 60, day 90, and the goal is to have like a 15-minute conversation in the target language. So and there are many challenges that go on throughout the challenge to encourage people to speak with native language like exchange partners or teachers. Let's say, for example, on italki, I've heard other people go on like Baselang. Those are some places where people find teachers. The language exchange group that I run is a really good place also to find language exchange partners. And then there are challenges for writing sentences and then getting as many conversations as possible. By the time you're at day 90, you feel a lot more comfortable speaking this language, and it's also figuring out what works for you. There doesn't seem to be a one size fits all for everybody. I think a key part of the experience is figuring out what works, what doesn't, testing things, trying them out. If it doesn't work, change it, be flexible with your learning style. And if it works, kind of maximize that. So I think I had a really good experience with the Russian in there. And I know you definitely did a lot of hard work with the sign language. So.
Perfect. So people who are interested can go to @1 challenge.com and find more information, and also when they can sign up to receive a notification when there's a new @1 challenge. And just like you said, this is more like a support group and also an accountability group that will help you do activities and find partners and scaffold and build your confidence so you can hold a 15-minute conversation with a native speaker after 90 days. And it is possible. The group and the activities will support you to do that. It's not, you will not be taught the language there. You still find your own materials, your own tutors to learn by yourself, but the group will help you and support you with that. Some people will give you suggestions where you can find materials for the language that you are learning. Some people will pair up and do a language exchange. It's a great way to keep the motivation going. Now, let's take a little more personal. How was your experience so far with the multiple @1 challenges that you have participated with?
Okay, well, I would say about day 7, I really got into the idea of making these videos, and I decided to make it a daily activity. So I started to record myself in Russian for like 5 minutes, 15 minutes every day, and I just made it a kind of a daily obligation part of my routine, that if I wanted to practice speaking, I was going to be speaking. And it wasn't necessarily I'm going to be practice reading or listening or writing to get myself speaking. So I figured the only way to really work on that is just speak. And there was something I remember watching one of Ollie Richards' videos with the language learning foundations and the speaking bootcamp. It was mentioning that like when you are working with a language exchange partner or a teacher or a tutor, you sometimes have to deal with like cultural aspects or personality or kind of figuring out a topic you can discuss with that person. But when you just talk to a camera and record yourself, you kind of eliminate any of those situations, and all you do is really practice the speaking. And I really forced myself to, like, if I forgot vocabulary words, I would just keep pushing through it and not necessarily sit with Google Translate. I would just kind of get through it, because when you are in a live conversation with somebody, you don't always have access to those tools. You want to keep the conversation going. So from day 7 until even after the competition ended, I think I did this for 100 days. Just I got in a good habit of doing this on a daily basis. So I got like a streak of 100 days, and then I got interrupted with vacation. I did sign up for a second challenge. I was really tempted by the possibility of like working on Greek and collaborating with people like Alex Rawlings and Richard Skimcott, and because they are going to the polyglot conference in Thessaloniki at the end of this month, October. So I was really tempted by that opportunity to work on Greek with them. Brian did caution me to not necessarily do 2 languages and 2 challenges simultaneously, because it is an add 1 challenge. I try to keep things kind of manageable a little bit at the beginning. So I did have an overlap of 40 days or so with starting A1 16 for Greek and finishing A1 15 for Russian. I had a really strong progress for the Russian, and I was able to finish well for that one. But then at some point with halfway into the Greek one, my online teaching, since you mentioned that I'm teaching, that got a little a heavy course load, and then I was visiting family in California. So things just kind of, as a perfect storm, I couldn't really keep up with the language learning for the Greek. I got into it, and I had some really excellent study partners for Greek. I definitely want to say hi to Jefferson Neto. He was very helpful, and Stefania. They were very helpful for helping with the Greek, and also Jenny. I think she was getting in there as well. So it was really great to work and meet those people with the Greek. But I think my main focus was Russian. But so I would definitely tell people if they wanted to do 2 challenges simultaneously, probably not a good idea. If they're going to do it back to back, you might want to take a break, because I've seen a lot of people do back-to-back challenges and then they reach this high momentum and then they plateau in terms of like, well, where do I take it from here? So I've seen this myself and other challenges where like you reach a lot of momentum, and then the second one, you kind of burn out a little bit. So sometimes having like a small break helps you kind of reflect on what's worked, what didn't, take a moment to breathe, and then like refocus and work out a game plan for the next one.
That's correct, and I saw some of those things happen to me. In fact, I did start a challenge before the American Sign Language with German, and I failed completely. I just couldn't do it. Life took over. And you and I are language teachers, kind of language geeks. We love learning and learning languages and learning about languages. But the Add One challenge is not just for people like you and I. It's for anyone. If you ever wanted to learn a language and want to do it on your own, this is a great opportunity to have a support group that will help you along the way with your motivation and accountability. Yes, there is a competition component at the end. If you follow certain steps, you can get a free flight to the country where that language is spoken. I think it's up to $500. But the main thing is that, yes, those aspects are nice, like any motivation, but anyone can participate. We interact and see people of all levels, some people who already speak 10 languages, and some people who are starting with their first one from 0. And this is a great way to get motivation and support, especially if you're doing it on your own. What's next, Jonathan? Are you planning to continue with another challenge with a different language, or maybe take an Add One challenge and continue forward? Because the Add One challenge is not only for a new language. You can take a language that maybe you are at the beginner level and you want to bump it up to intermediate, or maybe you are intermediate and you want to bump it up to advanced. You can use these 90 days with structure and focus and support to really work on whatever you want to improve. So it doesn't always need to be starting a language from 0. It could be improving what you know. What's next for you, Jonathan?
Well, as I mentioned, with that kind of heavy course load with teaching, I am getting about 20 hours of teaching per week. So I am slightly on that, take a brief pause while I kind of regroup, figure out what works, what isn't working, and really kind of compress like how much time can I actually dedicate to language, and be careful not to like overcommit. So I want to join again. Maybe I know today is starting the Ad1 challenge number 19, and I have some friends who have been joining that, and I want to follow their progress and give them some support. And then I think maybe I might join again, let's say maybe for 20 or 21. But I'd like to continue strengthening my Russian. I know I got to a pretty good intermediate level, and I want to keep building on that. Because I really do think that the Ad1 Challenge community is very supportive, and there's a lot of, as you mentioned, it isn't just for people who are more advanced in these languages or who have studied several languages. I think there are a lot of people in there who are starting some languages from scratch, or have struggled with the language for a couple years, and then they just need to kind of stop procrastinating, or they need accountability. And it's a really great place to find that, because it's one thing to study a language by yourself and then nobody knows about your progress. But if you let other people know about this and you involve people in your plans, they'll be very helpful to kind of reach a hand out and really keep you motivated and supported and encouraged during that whole process.
Definitely. And another thing that the Ad1 Challenge is good for is to find what are the ways that you learn the best, and also to find structures and routine that you can integrate in your life, so you can have a sustained learning, not just focus for 90 days and then drop it. So me as well, because of my teaching load and rehearsing a play and all the many things that I like to do, I'm not able to keep up at the same level. But I did find some activities and routines that I'm able to keep 2 or 3 times a week, so that I can keep up with the skills that I developed. So I'm not going to commit right now to a new challenge yet. There are a couple of languages that I want to improve, like French and maybe German again, or Esperanto. Maybe I'll just take Esperanto and just push it forward for 90 days and see how high I can get. But I am taking a break at the moment and just figuring out what to do with my press of American Sign Language, and where to go and what to do with it. So, Jonathan, if people want to find more about you, not only what you do, but maybe might be interested in taking some classes with you, what's the best way to find you?
Okay, yeah, thanks. So I have a website, hugginsinternational.com, and a Facebook page which has the same name, Huggins International. Those are 2 of the main places people can reach me. I do have the language exchange group on Facebook that I admin, and there's about 13,000 people in there. That's usually where I interact with a lot more people for learning languages, teaching them, and that's called Language Exchange. It's a very generic name. You can find that on Facebook. And on Twitter and Instagram, I just use a handle jhugsint, JHUGSINT. So it's just J Huggins International, as shortened into J Hugsint. But yeah, those are the main places where I kind of hang out, learning languages and teaching them and helping other people stay motivated. For English, I'm doing TOEFL prep and conversational English primarily.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your time, not only for getting together with me and talking about the Ad1 Challenge and talking about language in general. We're both passionate about that. We're also doing some fun testing with technology and being present in multiple ways, and that's part of the fun as well. So thank you for everyone watching. Remember, if you're watching this recording, do leave a comment. Maybe you have a question, maybe you want to share your experience learning by yourself. Maybe you are an Ad1 challenger yourself and you want to share your experience. Just leave a comment wherever you find this video. I'm sure that Jonathan or I will reply or say hi. Jonathan, thank you so much, and I hope to chat with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much, and congratulations on winning. And how do I say thank you in sign language?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the interview. Thank you for inviting me. Take care.
Take care.